Hello everyone, myself Kumar Ujjwal, faculty of PSIR, that is Political Science and International Relation, and today we are going to discuss approach for mains 2021 for PSIR. I hope most of you might have performed well in prelims, and this year it is expected that cutoff would be less. So, without wasting time, we should focus on the optional, because optional is holding the key in your selection, and optional like PSIR, which is all pervasive in all parts of general studies except science and technology and that of geography and bit environment, but otherwise it is there and covering most of the parts, be it second paper, polity, governance, social justice or international relation, even ethics paper 4, world history and IR go hand in hand, modern India, here you have to study in detail, constitution, all those things you have to study in detail. So, our discussion here would be approach for mains 2021, because of paucity of time, because you know that prelims has already been conducted, and now you will have limited time period to crack this exam, and in PSIR you have to maximize your marks through various means. So, first let me start with the very basics, because there are many students might not have seen my this approach earlier. So, approach precisely means accessing anything, accessing any subject, accessing any issue. So, it has both component. One is subject, that is what to inquire, and second is method, how to inquire. Method is procedure of inquiry and subject is what to inquire. So, method can be, procedure of inquiry can be inductive, like Plato used inductive method, Aristotle used deductive method, Plato used deductive method, Aristotle used inductive method, Marx used scientific method. So, comparative method that we follow in comparative politics in paper 2. So, there can be different methods, scientific method. So, how we inquire, that is method, that is procedure of inquiry. So, when we approach political science, you must have understanding of the syllabus broadly, first at macro level, then at the micro level. So, first you must know that in political science and international relation, paper 1 consists of first section A. Section A is basically political theories. Theories, as you know, is systematic knowledge with both empirical and evaluative statement along with logical statement, and political theories are to be seen both in terms of political philosophy and political science. Philosophy is based on values, ideals, principles, desirability, higher ideals, ought to be, should be, and science is based on observation, repetition, experimentation, demonstration, facts, observation. So, both aspects you have to study, but you know the syllabus given by UPSC, but we will study, our approach should be systematic, because there is a way to study political science, and it has to be according to the question asked rather than the order given by UPSC in a syllabus. So, first question which is compulsory from section A is from Western thinkers. So, basically paper A consists section A of paper A1 consists of thinkers, thought first. In that, Western thinkers would be coming first. So, thought is person specific, place specific, time specific, it is static in nature. There is no change, there is no update. You can comment on thought of Plato, Aristotle, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, J.S. Mill, Machiavelli, Marx, Gramsci, Hannah Arendt, but you cannot change them. It's person specific, place specific, time specific. So it gives you mathematics like Marx, because here once you have command means you have command. And in thinkers, you have to approach in such a manner that first, to simplify the things, you have to classify, like organic thinkers, those who believe that a state is the body and individual is the organ, and organ cannot exist outside the body. Similarly, individuals cannot exist outside the state. So first, organic thinkers like Plato and Aristotle. Hegel is also coming in that category. Then you categorize liberal thinkers in that, classical thinkers like Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau and Bentham, although not explicitly mentioned Bentham. Then positive liberal thinkers like T.H. Green, then that of J.S. Mill. Keynes is indirectly referred. So that again you go to class thinkers or Marxist thinkers, then neo-Marxist thinkers like Marx, Lenin, Mao. Then you go to the other class of thinkers like divine thinkers, Manu, Kautilya, Hegel. Hegel is there both in both categories. So point is, once you classify and find the similarities and dissimilarities, then things become simple. Over the period of time, we have developed so many innovative techniques to simplify those things, because our work is precisely to simplify the things and to make it graspable, retainable, producible, and based on understanding, not only based on knowledge, based on thinking, understanding, presentation. So this is what first question would be from thinkers. Then we will, there is an order to study political science. If you don't maintain the order, for example, if you pick first topic, that approach to political science, traditional approach, behavioral approach, then post behavioral approach, outrightly going to political economy, political culture, political sociology. So that would not be helping you in understanding the things in totality. So there is a way to study political science. First thinkers, and in that first Western thinkers, since it is static part, so it will be acting as a platform to reach out the other things, and with the passage of time your ease of learning will increase. Then in paper 1 section A we will study ideology, ideology with suffix ism, liberalism, capitalism, socialism, Marxism, Gandhism, anarchism, feminism, imperialism, nationalism. So ideology to be seen both in both terms, first as group of ideas for mass mobilization, and second as science of ideas. Science of ideas, more systematic, more empirical, more factual, more open-minded, critical. So ideology is being mentioned in two parts. Paper 1 section A ideology are these, and in IGP, Indian Government and Politics, that is section B of paper 1. The ideologies like casteism, communalism, regionalism, nationalism, those ideologies will also come, along with feminism in Indian context. One thing you must note, that it is being said broadly, two things, that in most of the optional, paper 1 is theoretical, paper 2 is applied. Paper 1 is that of theory and paper 2 is applied. But in political science, one of the specific thing that you must note, that within paper 1, the theories of section A has to be applied in Indian Government and Politics section B, in Indian context. Indian context, Indian Government and Politics. Whatever theories that you learn here, that you have to apply in Indian context. Similarly, in paper 2, that is international relation, section A theories of international relation and comparative politics has to applied in Indian context, section B. So here also Indian word is there, here also Indian word is there. So whatever theories that you learn in section A, you have to apply it in Indian context. Here also, whatever international theories you learn in section A of paper 2, you have to apply in section B. That is one of the speciality of this optional that you must have understanding of. So first will be thinkers, and those thinkers we will be doing with classification, so that once you know the similarities and dissimilarities, then it will become easier to study, because broad things about those thinkers, if you are knowing, like if you know that Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau all believed in social contract individualism, all are belonging to classical liberalism or negative liberalism, which favored market economy, which favored individual liberty, which favored individualism, then it will be easier to understand. So first is thinkers, then an ideology, then we have theories. Theories, as you know, is the systematic knowledge, and systematic knowledge consists of both parts. Theories to be seen as philosophy or political philosophy, which is based on values, ought to be, which is subjective. In this context, every political theory or every political philosophy is tentative in nature, subject to revision, subject to criticism, paving the way for another theory. For example, first classical theory of democracy says democracy is the rule by the people, rule for the people, rule of the people. Then pluralist theory of democracy, group theory, elitist theory of democracy, Marxist theory of democracy. So the same democracy to be seen from different perspective, from different values, from different dimensions, and limitation and criticism of one political philosophy leads to another, and so on. So our understanding about any issue would be more multidimensional and holistic when we see the same thing from different perspective. We cannot afford to have one dimensional understanding. So theories are also the instruments of political development, betterment, that our understanding is more enlarged, it is broadened, we can see the other side of the coin, we can see the different perspectives. So in this context, this is political philosophy. Then theories, systematic knowledge with science. Such thing will come everywhere. Like in traditional approach, values are being dominant. In behavioral approach, science is dominant. In post-behavioral approach, value and facts both are important. Same is the case in theories. So science again is based on empiricism, facts, observation, repetition, experimentation, demonstration, which are universally accepted. So theories, we have to see both fact part as well as philosophy part. So in any political studies, once you write answer, the state may not be directly mentioned, but in any political theory, in any political answer, the role of state, direct or indirect, has to be highlighted. That is implied, that is inherent. Like no theory of liberty, equality or justice can be qualified to be called political theory unless the role of a state is defined or divulged in that answer. So keep always this thing in mind, that you have to refer state directly or indirectly. So in theories, you have theories of state. As I said, to see the same state, traditional, first you have to know the what part, that what is state, population, territory, government and sovereignty. Then some see state as divine instrument, some see state as instrument of exploitation in the hands of minority capitalist against majority workers, Marxist theory. Some say state is necessary evil, like liberal theory. Some say it unnecessary evil, like Karl Marx. Some say state is a divine instrument. Max Weber theory of a state will say state has a monopoly of using legitimate violence. Behavioral theory will defocus state and focus on authoritative centers of decision making. The point is that different theories are helping in multidimensional understanding. So you have to study here theories of state, then you have to study theories of sovereignty, theories of democracy, theories of liberty, equality, justice, rights, power, authority, legitimacy. So section A is core political science. As once you have command over section A, then your ease will increase. For example, if you study in Indian constitution or Indian government and politics, both formal process or informal process, once you have command, because after all in Indian constitution also there are provisions inspired from liberalism, socialism, Gandhism. So once you have studied that, once you have studied liberty, equality, justice here, rights, then it will be easier to understand. Similarly, national movement, for example. So liberal perspective, socialist perspective, feminist perspective, Dalit perspective. There are different perspectives to see the same national movement. So that will be easier. So paper 1, section A is mainly consisting of the 3 parts. First, it is thinker, Western thinkers, because Indian thinkers will come here, because there are many comparative questions. Gandhi and Marx, M.N. Roy and Marx, Ambedkar and Marx. So unless you have studied Marx as a thinker, then ideology Marxism, then you can't compare. So this is core. Then you have to apply those things that you have learned here. Your understanding would be easier in Indian government and politics. So I think you have understood this concept, that paper 1, the section A consisting of thinkers first, then ideology, then theories, both in terms of philosophy and science. So once you have command over this, and then only you will be studying the section B, that is Indian government and politics, IGP. Here you have to study national movement, but not like GS. You have to study different perspective by seeing it from the prism of different ideologies. So our approach to finish the syllabus and to maximize your marks and to ensure that political science become the key reason for your selection, you must have command, you must have understanding. And in political science, in my opinion, is one of the smallest syllabus, for the reason that things are being repeated. For example, once you have studied socialism, Marxism, then you have studied Marx as a thinker, then you have studied Marxist theory in domestic politics, then you apply Marxist theory in international relation. Similarly, here you study Gandhism and Gandhian principles in Indian constitution, you have to apply here. So this is how it will become easier, as the things are so much interrelated. As I will also explain that how they are linked. Paper 1 and paper 2 will be also linked. But let me first finish this. Indian government and politics. So Indian, here also Indian word is there, and in section B India and world is there. Indian context, whatever theories that you have learnt there, that you have to apply in Indian context. That is, in here you have to study Indian national movement, number 1. So Indian national movement is very important, because you have to study in GS also. Here also, here with the perspective, and you study Gandhi at different places. For example, here Gandhi's role in national movement, Gandhian Satyagraha, transition from constitutional agitation to that of this transition is there. So here also in constitution, the supreme law, you have to divide and classify. Classification is a traditional method, but we will be using it, will be reincarnating it in a very innovative manner to simplify the things, to study this with science, with just like science, with charts, diagrams, figures, flow charts. That will be helping in understanding, and your scientific presentation is always appreciated. So in constitution, further if you see that first you have mainly principles which is there up to part 5, part 1 to part 5, that you have to couple with the constitutional development. Then those principles are to be applied in part 6 onwards, institutions like union government in part 5, state government in part 6, and so on, like this union territory in part 8 and scheduled areas in part 10. So constitution is also to be divided into 2 parts, that is principles and the institutions. Both you have to study, and you have to see that here the formal processes of politics are being more mentioned, while here you have to go for informal processes of politics also in IGP. In informal processes of politics, how the politics has operated over the period of time. It's not only constitution, but constitution at work, how constitution has worked over the period of time. That also you have to see in this context, how the constitution has worked over the period of time, that also you have to see. So in this context, there is formal and informal things both, like social movement is informal processes of politics. Formal processes you have to learn here, principles and institution in constitution. Now informal, like social movement, like pressure groups, like civil society, like planning and economic development, like casteism, communalism, regionalism, non-state actors, how they have played the role over the period of time. So how the Indian party system, all those, although party is part of formally political system, while other non-state actors are part of the larger social system. So in this context, you have to see both paper 1 in section A and section B, Indian context. So everything that you learn in section A, you have to apply in Indian context. Once we cover that, our approach would be, once we cover that, then it will be easier for you to understand the behavioral approach, traditional approach, what are the approaches in political science. So the approach which was followed in political science till Second World War was traditional approach. And most important objective of political studies is to resolve conflict. However, traditional approach could not resolve the conflicts. This was the reason why there was change in approach. And scientific approach, behavioral approach, which was followed from 1945 to 1969, but again failure of America in Vietnam War led to post-behavioral approach. Post-behavioral approach. So admixture of values and science. So in this way, once you study behavioral approach in paper 1, it will be easier for you to apply the same in paper 2, because all those new things, like in traditional approach we have historical approach, philosophical approach, legal approach, institutional approach, but here you will have cybernetic model, you have a structural functional model, you have communication model, and various things which have derived from system theory, from science. So this will be easier to understand, and there are certain common things in political science you have to keep in mind. Whatever you study, whether you study thinker, whether his approach was to certain common things, common denominator everywhere, you have to use that, whether his method was inductive, or deductive, whether he considered state as means or state as end, whether talking on more on idealism, philosophy, values, desirability or realism, facts. So these are the common things in political science. Everywhere, in any part, you have to use them. So our approach for 2021 would be to finish the syllabus in almost 100 hours, and in that we will be focusing on simplification, understanding, enhancing your thinking power and answer writing, because many times many students have good knowledge, even they go beyond knowledge, they have good understanding, but once the implementation part comes, answer writing comes, that is very strategic, they don't know the variables of a good answer. So that is very important, and without the developing the art of writing answer, you cannot fetch marks at the end of the day. Your merit would be entirely tested based on marks that you fetch, and fetching marks is also an art through sound answer writing skills. So we have discussed the paper 1, section A and section B broadly, minutely, topic wise topic. If you see, then in Indian government and politics also there will be so much detailing, like I have discussed in Indian constitution the principles and institutions broadly, macro level you are able to see. Then informal processes of politics, that is also very important, like the impact of green revolution on Indian politics, like mandalization of Indian politics. So all those are informal processes of politics, like regional aspirations in Indian politics, like how our constitution, how our federalism has been impacted by those regional diversity. So you have to link the formal things with the informal things. So here the formal things, first you study as a fact, then you develop concept, then you apply those concepts in the real given situation or in the actual questions which has been asked. So this is paper 1. As far as paper 2 is concerned, it's called international relation. So you must have firm understanding that international relation means relation among the nation, and nation is a modern concept. State was there from time immemorial, but international relation is modern, and our approach for mains 2021 in international relation would be, again I said, we will follow a particular order which is to be followed in political science. Again here in section A, it is comparative politics, and if you see that all 11 topics mentioned in comparative politics, they are the topics mostly after Second World War, 1945, contemporary. Now one may be surprised that Aristotle is called father of comparative politics. He compared between 158 kinds of constitution and forms of government. But here most of the contemporary issues are coming. So you must understand why this has come. Because anything, any topic that you study, first you must locate is time and space. That location, fixing in time and space, whether ancient phenomenon, medieval phenomenon, modern phenomenon, postmodern phenomenon, contemporary phenomenon. So at which place, at what time? So that help in contextualization of the things. First. Second, the very simple formula, what, where, why, how, when. And third, there are certain common things that I used, that which will be coming everywhere in political science. The whole subject revolve around certain key issues. I will be concluding the class by giving that framework, that you must have that framework, and then you will be able to write and elaborate on any topic as per the demand of the question, because answer writing is very important. So In comparative politics, be it international global governance or in 21st century now global governance, United Nations and its agencies, IMF, World Bank, WTO, political economy portions are also there. So in this case, we will find that comparative politics will have the topics like the Cold War, the non-alignment movement, the regional organizations, all these things would be coming, and they are linked with world history also. You cannot outrightly study international relation from India and world portion like GS. Here you have theories also, theories of international relations are also there. So the theories of international relation that consist of the games theory, the idealist theory, the realist theory, the neo-realist theory, the structural functional model which is followed in comparative politics, the system model, communication model, all those things you have to study as a theory. Once you understand the theories, you can apply in itself and also in paper section B of paper 2. So in theories also you have to learn the concept of national interest, the concept of national power, the concept of collective security, to differentiate it from collective defense. Then you have to understand balance of power system. Then you have to understand the various key concepts like national power, national interest, foreign policy, determinants of foreign policy, impact on foreign policy, the reasons for formation of regional organizations, all those theories that once you understand, then it will become easier. And as I said, in political science, the things are being repeated. Whatever is there, like in first paper 1, you study Marxist theory. The same Marxist theory of international relation you have to apply here. So at the end of the day, you have to correlate the things across the board, then the things will become simpler. And in comparative politics, you have all those mainly developments after Second World War. So here also it is static portion, because be it developments during Cold War, it has happened. So core concepts and facts are to be interlinked, then it will be the basis of your understanding. Then you will be start applying those concepts, those theories, those systematic knowledge in the given situation. So all those things that you have studied here will be again studied and applied, most importantly, in India and world. India and world. Here, as I mentioned that in section B, Indian government and politics of paper 1. Here also in section B, India and world. That is, whatever you have studied here, you have to apply in Indian context, like Indian foreign policy, determinants of Indian foreign policy, elements of continuity and changes in Indian foreign policy, then national interest of India, national power of India. Here also you have mentioned regional organization like EU, SAARC, Euro-African Union, Organization of African States, ASEAN. Here in Indian context they have to be applied. Here also NAM, North-South dialogue, South-South cooperation, in general context, in holistic context is there. Here it has to be applied in Indian context, that what is North-South dialogue, what is South-South cooperation, what is new international economic order. So all those things you have to apply in Indian context. So at the factual level, for example, if you write Indo-US relationship and 2+2 agreement, at factual level, there will be no difference between GS and optional. But when you apply your concepts and theories and you refer the words like idealism, like realism, you refer the approaches like inductive approach, inductive method, scientific method, or you refer the games theory, zero-sum game, non-zero-sum game, then this become an optional answer. So you have to refer to those theories and again to highlight and simplify and to apply those theories here. So our approach would be very simple. First, we will follow, as I have discussed, the order, and most importantly, whatever we will discuss immediately, every day you have to write answer. And the purpose of writing answer is not just writing, but to know your weaknesses, lacunas, so that you can take corrective measures, so that you know your strengths and weaknesses. And once political science is so much interdisciplinary and so much conceptual that here there is no bundle of facts. Here it is more interdisciplinary, as I gave so many examples. For example, even you study in Indian foreign policy the elements of continuity and changes, even if you study the foreign policy during different prime minister, so those developments, those facts also will be referred. Those theories will also be referred. For example, Indian foreign policy moved towards more realism after Indochina War, 62. More realism after 1971. More realism after 1991. So realism, neorealism are the systematic theories that you have studied. So the same realism you have studied in paper 1. Realist power politics, that Machiavelli favored power politics, central role of power in politics. So every part is interlinked, and as I mentioned that it's not paper 2 but in economic portion also, like in nowhere, no year, there are certain things which has bound to be asked. There are certain things on which you have must firm command. Like we are living in the era of globalization. So naturally, more and more contemporary, current questions would be coming. And once you have understanding of this postmodern, hyper-globalized world, then many things are becoming very clear. You must have firm understanding of the age you are living. So this is very much predictable part, contemporary part, current part. Current does not mean only facts, grabbing and facts and gluing facts. And optional, you have not to just present facts, but you have to substantiate and correlate with the theories. And I focus a lot on a sound answer writing. So for a sound answer writing, you must have all these things that you must see. First, what to see the central demand of the question, whether question is saying discuss, whether it's saying explain, whether it's saying comment, whether it's saying evaluate, whether it's saying critically evaluate, whether it's saying illustrate, whether it's saying examine. All those things you have to keep in mind. Don't write answer without seeing that. Then locus, boundaries of the question, answer, what not to write, then central demand of the question, secondary demand of the question, time limit, word limit, flow. All those are part and parcel of the good answer, because at the end of the day, now PSIR is not in prelims, it is in main. So in main you have to write answer, and in answer a good answer to fetch marks. So that becomes very strategic part, that how you write a very strategic answer to ensure that you get more and more marks. So these I'll be discussing those things, that what you have to, you have to write a sound answer. So our approach would be first, of course, knowledge based on understanding, thinking, applications, concepts, current, all contemporary issues, certain common denominators, classification, and I would like to add one thing, that is our specialty. So I must mention that, because our students must be knowing that what are the things that we are doing different from others. Over the period of time, we have developed so many innovative techniques. Those innovative techniques are precisely meant to ensure simplification, like mnemonics based things, to simplify the things, to certain areas where you get put and get formula. Like many students don't understand how Hobbes and Locke both are individualist but in a different way. So we write Hobbes individualism directly proportional to absolutism of a state, and individualism of Locke is inversely proportional to absolute state. So this formula, these key formulas, they are not only prerogative and monopoly of science and maths. If you use them, then many things you put and get. So there will be no question of any blunder. So we have developed so many innovative techniques based on mnemonics, number one. Then frameworking. Framework, one paper for paper 1 and one paper for paper 2. I will conclude the class with the framework one in a brief. Then classification. Classification is not a new method. Even father of political science, Aristotle, used it for so much comprehensively, and it was subsequently used. It is being used at present also. Then finally correlation. The things, once you start correlating across the board, that means you have command over the syllabus, you have understanding, you have concepts over the syllabus, and you are in position, you have skill of writing answer. So at that stage, your preparation would be completed, and that too has to be done in time bound manner. So mnemonics based for coding, frameworking, classification, correlation, these are the innovative techniques. Application of formulas, pie charts, diagrams, because it is thought that in humanities the only literature are there, only the things which are and the formulas and the diagrams and charts, they are the monopoly of science. It's wrong. Let me clarify. Any presentation which is simplified, any presentation which examiner can understand by just at first sight, then it will be always appreciated. So it's not that it's a prerogative or monopoly of science. It can use it here in a more comprehensive manner to ensure your marks. So our whole approach would be, first, every day you have to write answer, that will be evaluated, that will be checked through red pen, so that your mistakes must be pinching your eyes, and then you take corrective measures, because different students have different DNA. They may have different strengths and weaknesses. So you have to understand about your weaknesses and strengths, when your weaknesses and strengths will be manifested by actually writing answer, not by thinking that I will be able to write, actually writing the answer. So as I said, that whole political science revolve around certain key, certain words, and those words are helping you in elaborating any topic. Certain things are very much common in political science. You study whether paper 1, paper 2, section A, section B, that does not matter. So there will be centrality of state, there will be discussion of individual, some will say individual nature, most of the thinkers will say individual nature, like Machiavelli will say it is bad, Gandhi will say it is good, Locke will say it's neither good nor bad, individual nature. Then many individuals consist of society and then state, then individual nature. This is just a framework, so that any topic, this will be just like master key, you will be able to elaborate in political terms. Society will have groups, that non-state groups, then state will have sovereignty, that is supremacy of the state. Then when state and individuals relations are being discussed, then rights and duties come. Then in relation to individual and groups, there are liberty, equality, justice. Then you have means and ends. Means and ends. For example, for Gandhi, who is idealist thinker, for Immanuel Kant, who is idealist thinker, they are more focusing on purity of both means and ends, but realist will say means does not matter, end matter, like Machiavelli. So this will come everywhere. Some consider state as means, some consider individual liberty is the end, some say socio-economic equality is the end. So, but the things are the same. Then morality, which is subjective judgment in terms of right and wrong, opposite of selfishness. Moral values in politics. Power, authority, legitimacy. Power has various kinds of power: power, authority, legitimacy, legality, laws, constitution. So all these, whole political science revolve around these key words. Like some will talk about values and principles, subjectivity. Others will talk about science, facts, inductive, deductive, idealist, realist. These are universally applied. Whether you are writing foreign policy, more realism in foreign policy. So realism you have to study in paper 1. Again, neorealism you have to study in paper 2. Again, you have to apply the same realism in that of Machiavelli. In paper 2, Morgenthau's realism. So in political science, the same thing is being repeated. So syllabus, actual syllabus is very small, but since same thing are being repeated, so it appears that okay, this is the volume of the syllabus. But actually, it is being more repetitions are being there. So this is how this whole subject will be revolving around these keywords. I will be giving one more framework for paper 2. All the important developments from 14th century modern period to till 2021-22 will be, if you are knowing, you will, confidence level will be high. That every phenomenon I am able to visualize. That is first layer, that is factual level, that is knowledge level, then understanding, correlations, then actual answer writing, because ultimately, finally, your whole knowledge, understanding, concepts, facts, your labor, your merit, everything would be judged based on marks that you fetch. And I end this class by saying that fetching marks is an art, and you know what is the definition of art. Art is not knowledge. Art is a skillful application of knowledge. So that skill is a particular way of doing a thing, which is to be different from others and crowd, which is to be supplemented with experienced guidance, so that you can take corrective measures, so that you crack this exam in a time bound manner, because you don't have unlimited time, you don't have unlimited resources or time, or you can't afford to roam around so many books and materials, and ultimately many students start buying so many books and materials and they are getting overburdened, they are getting confused. We have to end the syllabus, not the books. And in many books are written for other context, which is also mentioning and discussing things out of syllabus, which is a futile exercise in terms of investment of your time, energy in those fields. So this is what we have discussed, and in almost roughly 100 hours we'll be finishing it, and along with the practice. So that's it. Thank you.